In a world of magic, the powers and future of a mage are predetermined at birth through so-called marks, 4 symbols that categorize a human's aptitude for magic. Lamenting the fact that his mark was considered ill-suited for combat and only useful for magic augmentation, an incredibly skilled sage decided to reincarnate thousands years in the future. A hooded figure fights a giant monster and trounces it. He stares at his hand with a symbol and says the symbol is useless since there is no room for growth. He possesses only 3 of the 4 crests. The first crest specializes in creation, the second specializes in power, and the third specializes in rapid firing. He believes that for him to grow stronger, he has to acquire the 4th crest, which is best suited to combat. A person's crest appears at birth and cannot be changed, so the figure decides to reincarnate far into the future. A young boy stares at the 4 crest seal on his hand. He is riding with his father to the capital, and his father tells him how impressive it is for the boy to prepare to take the exam at the age of 12. He tells his father of his determination to get stronger. The young boy suddenly senses a monster from afar heading their way with his crest. He describes the monster to his father, but he laughs it off. His father says the monster would be a calamity-grade monster based on his son's description, and to his surprise, the calamity-grade monster appears in front of them, but the young boy takes it down successfully. They arrive at the capital, and the boy bids his father farewell. He walks around the capital and enters a shop where they make swords. He sees a young girl who is asking for her friend's magic sword to be remade, but the store owner dismisses her. The young boy takes a look around and notices that although the swords are well made, the enchantments are poorly applied. The girl begs the shop owner, telling him that the entrance exams will happen the next day and that she needs to get the sword. The man tells her to go elsewhere, since he cannot make an enchanted blade. He asks her if one of the ready-made swords can do the work, but she describes the sword in such a way that the man confirms that he cannot help her. The young boy who is watching them offers to handle the enchantment, even though his 4th crest isn't well suited for that purpose. The man calls his 4th crest the crest of failure. The girl places a magistone on the table and says she'll believe the young boy. She asks that the man make the sword while they leave the enchantment to the boy. While the man makes the sword, the girl introduces herself to the young boy as Alma Lapucius. He calls himself Matthias Hildesheimer, Maddie for short. Alma tells him about her friend who owns the sword being made by the shop owner. Alma's friend, Lori, walks in asking her if she has any luck at this shop. She introduces Maddie to Lori. Alma explains to Lori that Maddie has offered to enchant the sword for them. Maddie and Lori are stunned seeing each other, and Lori introduces herself to him as Lori Abendroth. The sword is finally done, and Maddie enchants the sword. The only way to make the sword long and light enough for live combat is to add enhanced fortitude and sunder steel. Maddie does it with ease without even reciting an incantation, and they are all surprised. He gives Luri to test it out, and just by Luri dragging it across the table, it slices the table into 2. They freak out at the effectiveness of the enchantment, but Maddie tells them that it's just standard enchantment. The shop owner asks Maddie if he'd like to work with him, but Maddie refuses. The practical exams begin, and the fields to be tested include swordsmanship and casting. Maddie also takes the practical exam, and Luri meets with him. Alma complains about doing fine in every other subject except the tactics portion, which she found to be hard. Luri encourages them to work together to pass the test. While Luri is sparring with her opponent, she cuts his sword with her weapon, forcing him to surrender. Maddie's turn comes next, and his opponent knows him well, and even knows he was the one who enchanted Luri's sword. Maddie faces the examiner himself, and the examiner tells him that he would like to see what his father Castor taught him as well. Maddie is surprised that the examiner knows his father, and the examiner tells him that he'll vouch for him to pass regardless of the other test scores if he handles himself well enough against him. They draw out their swords, and Maddie notices the examiner's stance is wide open. He thinks the examiner might be taking it easy on him. He feels a little insulted by this, as he believes the purpose of a test is to show what he can do. He charges towards the examiner, and the examiner is shocked to see a young boy parrying his strike. They continue to duel until Maddie forces the examiner to surrender by hitting his sword out of his hands. Everyone is surprised to see the captain of the Knight's Order, Guile, lose. The casting exam is the next on the line. Luri is the first person called to take the exam. She is told to attack all 5 targets with fire arrow. She does the incantation and fires them one by one. Maddie notes, incanted casting is a method for casting spells through the recitation of particular words. He calls it a skill that can be used by anyone. The skill has a poor conversion rate on the user's magic power, leaving the user vulnerable to attacks mid-chant and not ideal for combat. Luri possesses the Crest of Glory. It is the first crest that is highly compatible with incanted casting. and is labeled the best for magical combat. When it is Maddie's turn, he asks if the fire arrow is the only allowed spell, and he is told that it's not necessarily, but it's the most basic spell. The examiner sees that he possesses the fourth crest, which is the crest of failure, and tells him that he might still pass if he does well in other subjects. Maddie confirms if the aim is to destroy the targets from a long range. He tells the examiner to stand a bit farther so he can create a magic circle without casting. He fires a huge flame that explodes midway and eats the ground, but the explosion hits away the targets. Maddie gets accepted into the school alongside Luri and Alma. He wears his uniform and sees that it fits perfectly. At the opening ceremony, the headmaster addresses them. He introduces himself as Edward and tells them that formality belongs to the first academy, but for them, at the second academy, ability is everything. He tells Maddie to drop by his office when the assembly is over. Maddie wonders why the headmaster would be calling for him, and when he gets to Edward's office, Edward tells him that he's sure there's a deeper reason why someone his age is so powerful, even if Castor being his father explains it a little. He tells him that he won't pry into it but asks for his aid. He tells him that wordless spells are a lost casting style, and he has been hoping to revive such techniques at the second academy, but the only thing stopping him is their sister academy in the capital, the First Royal Academy. Edward wants Maddie to teach the school wordless casting to prove to the Royal Academy in their next inter-school competition. The instructors rejoice as soon as Maddie agrees to help them. Maddie is introduced as the special guest instructor in the next class. He demonstrates wordless casting to them, and the students are surprised. The instructor tells them that Maddie isn't the only one who could use wordless casting, so he introduces Mr. Gaizal. Gaizal demonstrates it for them, but it isn't as accurate as that of Maddie. He tells them that Maddie's teachings got him that far in just a day, and the students start training. Luri runs out of magic while she's training, so Maddie has her stretch out her palm, while he places his palm on hers to transfer magic to her. She tries the wordless magic and gets hit. Maddie ends up teaching wordless casting to all the students, and after a month, the inter-school competition starts. Luri tells Maddie that she hopes there are no magical chosen ones at the inter-school competition. She tells him that every year when it seems like the second academy might win, one of these magically chosen ones appears. Maddie senses one of them around with roughly 10 times his magic power, and Alma compares the magic power to be of a demon. She tells him that demons are so strong that even the court magicians working together probably couldn't beat one. Maddie realizes that demons haven't been eradicated in the current era. Maddie walks out to the arena and faces Devilis, one of the magical chosen ones. The first academy winning this competition will make it their 65th win in a row. Devilis possesses a crest of glory. Maddie suspects that Devilis is a demon who is using a disguise spell to hide his true form, and even has a fake crest to let him walk with humans. The 65th inter-academy competition commences. Lasis and Gia start the attack, but they get defeated by Maddie. Devilis sees this and mistakenly casts a spell before starting his chant, and this shocks everyone. Maddie attacks him at close range with his sword, making Devilis fly backward. He casts another wordless casting that proves him to be a spell-casting demon, pretending to use incantations. The demons are the cause of magical decline, as they want human spells to be as weak as possible, and have infiltrated the academy long ago to have the fourth crest declared the crest of failure. Devilis is shocked at Maddie's strength, and Maddie breaks his disguise, revealing his true demon form. The headmaster of the first academy is shocked to see Devilis's true form, and Edward orders the students to be evacuated. Maddie cuts off Devilis's wings before he can escape, defeating him in the process. Maddie thought he drove the demons to the brink of extinction in his previous life. He was Gaius the Sage. Maddie knows there's a problem in this present day and age. Matthias is the third son of the Hildesheimer family. He is Gauss that reincarnated into this current world. Maddie notices that what used to be the strongest crest is now regarded as the weakest. Luri runs to hug Maddie, telling him that she's glad he's safe. Alma walks up to her and asks her if she knows what she's doing, and it makes Luri realize that she acted on impulse. Maddie meets with Edward and tells him that beating a demon isn't that big of a deal. Edward replies that no one in history has ever single-handedly dispatched a demon. The both of them meet with the king, and they carry out the necessary formalities and greetings with Maddie, introducing himself. The king tells him that he is impressed by his defeat of the demon, and under normal circumstances, he would broadcast Maddie's good deed far and wide, and grant him an honorary position, but doing so will inform the world that demons have infiltrated the ranks. Maddie notes to himself that he doesn't want a high position, but wants to get stronger. The king thinks about offering him a magic sword with a double enchantment. He tells Maddie that a blacksmith recently sold it to him, and it makes Maddie conclude that it was the spare enchanted weapon he made for the shop owner. Maddie requests for rights to all resources found in the kingdom's dungeons, and the king grants Maddie's wish and considers his reward settled. He tells Matthias that the 4 magical chosen ones present in the kingdom have all vanished. This means that demons have been infiltrating the kingdom for centuries. The king tells him that it seems he has driven the demons away from their kingdom, and he asks Maddie if it means the threat has left. Maddie tells him that if the unmasking caused the magical chosen ones to flee, then it's a sign that they see no value in maintaining the masquerade. Matthias predicts it will take the demons around 3 months to gather their forces together to go against the kingdom. He tells the king that they just need to cover the whole kingdom in a barrier before then, and use a divine class artifact to project a permanent barrier. He advises the king to allow them to continue teaching wordless magic, and the king has no choice but to put his trust in him. He appoints Matthias as the leader of the fight against the demons. Maddie is given free access to the kingdom's archives. While he checks around, he notices a sword that was found in an ancient ruin. He studies the magic pattern of the sword and sees the sword to be one of the ones he made in his past life. He picks up the sword and notices that it's tougher than orichalcum and perfect for the barrier's core. He sees a pendant. Pick up a pendant from his past life that increases the gains granted by experience points. Matthias walks around the training ground and sees that the students are getting better at chantless magic. He is taking time to improve humanity before he can make himself properly strong. Lori and Alma walk up to Maddie, telling him the news they got from the headmaster. He informs them that he'll be heading to a dungeon to collect the materials needed. He remembers that it's always better to have a party in dungeons, so he shyly asks them to be his party. They ask him if he's sure they wouldn't hold him back, as they also plan on getting stronger. Alma is bad when it comes to using swords, but she's good at using bows. Maddie tells her that bows are great for magical combat, and he demonstrates it to her while he infuses the arrow with magic. He tells Alma that it is a simple magic enchant, and encourages her to try it out, telling her that she has the Crest of Standard, which is the ideal crest for magical archery. They both accept to join his party, hoping that they get to learn more about enchantments. Maddie sees the party as a well-balanced one, with him holding the front line, Alma reinforcing him from behind, and Lurai offering support from behind. They go to a dungeon door beneath the academy. As they enter, Maddie tells them how the environmental features and monster strength differ floor by floor, with the ground floor being the weakest. He picks a small monster for them to practice with, and he teaches Alma how to infuse magic in her arrow. He shows her a trick that can help her change her arrow's course mid-air. The skill that changes the arrow's path mid-air is called a thread-guided enchant. Magistones appear when monsters are slain, and Maddie tells Alma to try defeating 2 monsters with 1 shot. Alma goes to train, and Maddie teaches Luri how to make her weapons. He gives her crude dungeon ore for her to use to make her weapon. She is to refine it to extract metal for the weapons. After following the process of refining the crude dungeon ore, she gets pure clusters of iron and mithril, which she uses to create a weapon. Alma can kill 3 monsters at once with her arrows, so she decides to head back. When she gets back, she's shocked to see how far Luri has gone, breaking down walls with enchanted swords she created. Maddie tells them that they will be going to the 10th floor for them to use as a test, to see how much they've learned. On the 10th floor, they were first faced with multiple snail monsters. Luri tries attacking it first with her wide-ranged fire attack, but it doesn't work. Alma tries next with her arrow, and she ends up taking all of them out. Alma and Luri make a good pair, as Luri creates arrows for Alma to fire at the monsters. Maddie's pendant consolidates the magic power of defeated monsters to increase the experience points gained by his party. A big killer dog suddenly faces them, and Maddie tells them to be careful, because the killer dogs are exponentially stronger than the monsters they've fought so far. Luri and Alma pair up together, and they take down the killer dog. Maddie suggests that they set up camp, that is, create a barrier to establish a safe area of rest. He does this by infusing a magistone with his magic power. He tells them to rest there while he goes to the lower floors to get the adamantite that he needs for the barrier. He tells them he is going down to the 25th floor, and Alma is surprised because the deepest anyone has gone in the dungeon is the 23rd floor. She tells him that the only person to do it was the legendary 30-man party under the protection of Gaius, a divine being of magic. When he hears her mention his name, he wonders if it's a mistake. Maddie heads down to the deeper floors and can get the rock containing adamantite. He senses a powerful monster around, known as the floor boss. He fights the serpent that emits toxic fumes from its mouth. Maddie cuts down the arc serpent, but it has no effect until he uses a little trick by shattering a magistone and gathering them all onto his blade, and using the blade to cut down the serpent. And even the demons on the other floor felt the wave. He walks back to meet his party members and informs them that he slays a monster. Maddie's party goes to a guild to sell the goods they picked up in the dungeon, and they attract a lot of attention. just by them being students of the second academy. The attendant sees the crest of failure on Maddie's hand and thinks he is their acting porter. Maddie brings in the head of the arc serpent and tells her that he would like to sell it. The attendant freaks out as soon as she sees an enormous snake head. Maddie takes it outside, and the attendant is surprised to see him use the storage spell. He brings out a huge magistrate for sale, and it surprises not only the attendant but his party members as well. The attendant says the Magistone could qualify as a national treasure. Maddie tells them that he got it by defeating the arc serpent and it's not big enough to be used for the barrier. The attendant tells him that she's not sure her guild can afford all of this. They were given 750 gold, and Maddie suggests they split the proceeds into 3 equal parts, even though parties are supposed to split proceeds based on individual contribution. Maddie senses something wrong, and he tells the girls that they will have to get back to the academy immediately. The girls notice the magical aura nearby and conclude that 2 demons are heading to the second academy. Ashril and Deshril, 2 demons, arrive at the second academy. They intend to test Maddie's mettle after he defeats Devilis. Maddie senses the strengths of the demons, so he assigns the girls to deal with the weaker ones. The girls tremble since they know demons to be powerful, but Maddie encourages them, and they accept the deal. Ashril decides that they'll first start with a spell from above, but before he can finish speaking, Maddie appears before him and swings his sword at the demon. Maddie couldn't deal damage on Deshril, and he knows he'll need enhancements to defeat it. Ashril fires a direct hit at Maddie, but he evades the flame attack. Maddie doesn't have much magic power, so he decides to take control of his enemy's spell. Maddie uses the same fire to burn Ashril, but Ashril snaps out of it almost immediately. Lori fires 2 enchanted arrows with a spell to Deshril to disrupt his magic power and slow him down. Ashril tells Deshril to take care of the girls while he fights Maddie. The event goes according to Maddie's plan. Ashril uses a large-scale spell that would outrightly destroy Maddie's control spell, but before he can fire the attack, Maddie casts a spell into the circle's weak point and cancels the spell. He attacks Ashril, and they engage in a sword battle. Maddie easily overpowers and wins effortlessly. Ashril tries using a flight spell, but Maddie already has full control over his casting. As Maddie tries to charge in, Ashril reveals his concealed casting at point-blank range, and they continue to spar against each other. Maddie uses an occlusion orb that helps in knocking down Ashril. The demon gets up and tries casting a special spell to trade his life for a horde of monsters, but Maddie seals his spell and defeats Ashril. Lurie and Alma buy time as they disrupt the magic flow of the demon. Maddie goes in to finish the fight using Light of Death magic. He uses a simple light spell that is designed to look like the Light of Death magic due to his current magic level not being enough for the original spell. Deshril tries to run away, but Maddie instructs Alma to fire an arrow to disrupt the demon. He cuts the wings of the demon and defeats it. The public is surprised to see the academy students defeat 2 demons. Maddie grabs the girls and uses a movement spell to take them away. Maddie's party and Edward meet up with the king, and he congratulates them. He asks Matthias for whatever he needs, and Matthias requests for more dungeons. The king grants his wish, telling him that he'll get as many as he can find him. He asks Lurie and Alma for their requests, and both of them request money, with Alma saying that money can never be too much. Maddie notices that they're being watched by demons, even though they're not technically there. He calls out the demon, but the demon doesn't answer. Maddie uses a spell that electrocutes the demon and forces it to scream. The king hears the voice and recognizes it to be that of Erhard, the former captain of the Magus Order. Maddie tells the king that Erhard was able to listen in this room using a fixed magical interface. Although Maddie dealt damage to it, he was unable to finish Erhard off. Maddie describes a location from the palace, and he asks the king if there's anything special there, as he had felt a reaction from that region when he destroyed the magical interface. The king tells him that it's the location of a village that was once destroyed by demons, and Maddie concludes the village to be the hideout of the demons. He suggests that they visit the demons, but the village is so far away that it would take half a year to travel normally. Maddie's teleportation spell wouldn't be able to take them far because of his crest. The headmaster orders the students to get materials that would be needed for the barrier. He wants the materials secured before Matthias and his party return. Maddie's party heads out to get the demons. He takes them to an unknown location in the mountains to negotiate with Iris, the legendary darkness dragon. He tells the 2 of them to wait while he goes in to negotiate. Iris was a member of the dragons that picked a fight with Gaius, but she surrendered early on, so he let her go. Iris doesn't recognize Mati, so she tries to attack him, but Mati uses a disruption spell to stop the attack, and it surprises Iris. She is also surprised that he could speak to a dragon, and he tells her that he's the reincarnation of Gaius. She apologizes to him, telling him that it was a big misunderstanding. He informs her that he needs to slay some demons who are far away, and asks if she could take them there. Iris tells him that she won't be able to due to her bad wings. He fixes her her wings and tells her to keep his reincarnation between them. He calls Luri and Alma to come forward to meet with Iris. Iris picks them up and transports them. While they're flying, Maddie tells her to fly as fast as humans can handle, and Iris measures it based on Gaius's old friend Reuter, the divine being of swords. Maddie tells her to drastically reduce the speed she is about to go. Maddie's party arrives at the village of demons. Maddie takes down the first demon he encounters. He senses two demons, one of them being Erhard, and the other being more powerful than Astral. Iris finds it hard to land, so she crash lands due to how long ago she flew last. As they enter the village, Maddie uses a telepathy spell to help them converse with thoughts for easier battle coordination. He tells both of them to handle the offense this time and gives them a casting circle. Maddie orders them to stay put as soon as he detects the enemy using a concealment spell. He asks them if there's anywhere that seems devoid of magic, and Luri senses a particular corner not to have magic. She complains about not finding the other demon, but Maddie tells her not to worry about it. Maddie uses a disruption spell to reveal Erhard, while Alma fires her arrow at him. Edward breaks the arrow, telling them that little arrows can't hurt a demon. He asks Maddie why he wouldn't attack him, and concludes that he's the fake one because the real one was just at the capital and couldn't get to the destroyed village in that time frame. Erhard charges in at Maddie and Maddie locks him down while Alma continues to fire her arrows at him. The arrows start to kick in and Erhard feels sluggish. Erhard buffs up and uses his demon AC called Disfortune. This skill trades one's lifespan for immense magic power and strength. Erhard chases after Luri and Alma to kill them, but he chases after an illusion cast by Maddie. Alma deals the final blow using her arrow. She defeats Erhard in the process. Maddie tells the girls to go back and wait for him outside with Iris. He goes further to face the other demon himself. Maddie crushes 3 Magistone to release magic into the surrounding air. It causes a stir in the atmosphere which forces the demons to materialize. The demon warns Maddie that he's on a different level from Erhard, and Maddie replies that he's aware, but he doesn't plan on dying. The demon attacks Maddie, but he defends himself. The demon cuts off Maddie's right hand, which he uses to hold his sword, and he walks up to him. He tells Maddie that he believes it's over for him. He says he'll grant Maddie mercy by choosing how he'll die. Maddie says he doesn't plan on dying for thousands of years at least. After Maddie's analysis is complete, he rejoins his arm after imbuing it with a recovery spell. Maddie starts to attack the monster using the same toxin he used on Erhard. The demon uses the magic circuit overclock, which is similar to the Disfortune spell, but more advanced with a lower chance of the demon dying. Maddie uses a spell that nullifies the magic circuit overclock, forcing the demon to return to its mist state. He uses a spell that turns anything it touches to mist, but Maddie cancels it. Maddie informs him that his earlier analysis grants him countermeasures. The demon explodes and a dragon vein pillar is revealed. Dragon vein pillars are conduits of magic power that run through the earth. Given the spell carved into this pillar, the objective of the demons is to bring a horde of monsters. They plan to tap into the dragon vein and generate the horde of monsters at the capital. The explosion that Maddie forced the demon to encounter shifted the spell by 10 kilometers away from the capital, but they will still need the Academy's help to dispel it. They head back to the capital and Iris uses a spell that transforms demons into humans. Maddie returns Erhard's horns to Edward, and Edward says his rewards might empty the king's treasury. Maddie tells Edward that he wants to speak to him about something else. He asks if he could accept Iris as a transfer student. Edward says he'll give her a chance, but she'll have to take the transfer exam and need to score a 47 out of 50 at least. Maddie is sure the test isn't a problem for Iris, but he offers to watch the test just in case. Maddie didn't tell Edward about the dragon vein pillar and the monster horde he saw earlier to prevent panic. He decides that he'll inform him after Iris's transfer exam. He applies a pattern on Iris's hand like a crest, which is similar to the first demon he fought in the arena. Iris fails the written exams. She undergoes the practical exam. Iris faces Guile, the captain of the Knight's Order. Iris's sword falls to the ground as soon as she clashes with Guile. She runs to pick it up, but Guile warns her not to turn her back at the enemy. He tries to strike her, but she catches his sword with her bare hand and tells him to wait. He wonders how strong she is as she raises him with his sword before batting him away with her sword. He flies into the roof of one tower. During the casting exam, Iris looks at the 5 targets and tells Edward that it's too small. She fires an attack at the target, but it turns towards the people at her back, forcing Maddie to protect them with magic. Iris tries it the second time but misses again. This time her attack blows up in the air. When she tries the third time, Maddie already has his shield around everyone. Iris blows up the entire ground this time. Maddie asks Edward for his verdict, and Edward calls Iris a bizarre girl and then passes her. Maddie asks the principal how far they are concerning the materials required for the barrier. The principal informs him about how slow they are at it due to not having enough crests of glory. He says that most of the crests of glory in the kingdom are enrolled at the First Academy. Maddie suggests they ask the First Academy for help, but Edward tells him it would be difficult as both academies do not get along. He tells Maddie that he'll ask the king to intervene due to how dire their situation is. Edward summons the headmaster of the First Academy as ordered by the king. The headmaster of the First Academy gets mad at Edward for calling him in. He believes to be leagues ahead of the headmaster of the second school. He says that his school has more crest of glory than Edward's, but Edward tells him to stop the act while they discuss the current matter. He tells him it's about the barrier they're putting up over the kingdom to keep out the demons. He asks the headmaster of the First Academy for Crest of Glory users to refine the ore, but the headmaster refuses instantly. He says he can't stand the thought of them working with the Second Academy. Edward tells him that it's about time. He re-evaluated his views on the crest, as they have proved themselves in the interschool competition. The headmaster retorts that the results of the match were nulled due to demonic interference. Edward reminds him that the demon was a student from his academy. Maddie suggests that they redo the competition and the loser does whatever the winner asks. The headmaster of the First Academy accepts it, but adds a condition that forbids Maddie and his party members from participating. Maddie says it's fine by him. The competition starts in 2 days, and Maddie is determined to shut the First Academy up once and for all. The First Academy went all out regarding the competition. Maddie already planned on sending in Iris if any of them seemed dangerous, but he didn't sense any demon amidst them. The participants of the First Academy are their finest Crest of Glory students, while the Second Academy provides just 5 students against a large number from the First Academy. The competition begins, and while the students of the First Academy are still casting spells, the Second Academy students already blast them away with their wordless castings, completely defeating them. The headmaster of the First Academy refuses to accept the result. He claims the candidates of the Second Academy to be beasts. Edward tells him that the king ordered them to switch to wordless casting and asks him why the First Academy is still using incanted spells. The headmaster replies that he must protect the kingdom's educational principles from pathetic crests of failure and mediocre crests of standard, and says he might go as far as disobeying the king's order to do so. The king hears this from above and asks if he would dare such a thing. He orders the royal guards to seize the headmaster and commands the students of the First Academy to work with the Second Academy onwards to receive education in wordless casting and assist them with the plan in progress. Maddie and his party go to gather the magistone that they will need for the core of the barrier. A 60-centimeter one would be needed for the core, and Maddie tells them that it shouldn't be that hard to find. He tells them that Iris is a dragon, so she likely has a magistone exceeding 80 centimeters, but he doesn't plan on taking hers. He tells them that the other way to get one is by summoning a monster. Alma and Luri take down different wolves and are coming along nicely except for Iris, who has poor control over her power. The girls can't believe that they are on the 17th floor. Iris tells them that someone she used to know made it to the 654th floor. That was Maddie in his past life. Maddie tells Lori to form a casting circle around the Magistone while they summon the monster. He tells Iris to infuse the Magistone with magic, and she has to do it slowly because too much could lead to disaster. Iris infuses a lot of magic into the Magistone in a shorter time, and they end up summoning a monster that is beyond what the floor can handle. The monster can easily give them 60-centimeter Magistone. Iris launches the first attack, but she gets batted away. Maddie asks her if she could talk down the monster, and she calls the dragon a winged lizard and tells it to just die. The dragon replies that it would kill her, so he starts to attack her. Calling a dragon a winged lizard is the most offensive thing one can say. Maddie tells Iris to keep drawing the dragon's attention while Alma fires her arrows at it. Maddie sets casting circles on many Magistones. When the dragon notices Alma and Luri, Maddie tells Iris to protect them, and she does just that by punching the dragon's face. The dragon smashes Iris into the ground when she thinks she can parry its attack from above. Maddie tells her not to block every hit. She tells him that it is weird that the dragon hasn't used Dragon's Breath yet, and Maddie tells her that he's using his magic to block it. Dragons have tough skin that can't be penetrated with arrows and are not vulnerable to the toxins Maddie used on the demons. Maddie has the choice of telling Iris to turn to a dragon to fight this dragon, but it would put a lot on her shoulders, considering that she can't control her powers properly. The method Maddie currently employs with the Magistones and the magic circles spells is the safest way to beat the dragon. Maddie tells Iris to make the dragon use its dragon's breath. She provokes the dragon and forces it to use its dragon's breath. Maddie activates his magic, which uses the dragon's breath and inverts its direction and attributes to destroy the dragon with its spell. Iris falls as she tries to escape from the dragon's attack, but Maddie saves her. The dragon is successfully defeated by its attack, and they get the magic stone. Maddie asks Iris if she would like to join their party officially. Iris accepts, and the girls rejoice. At the school's training ground, Maddie ruins a portion of the school grounds to help Iris get used to her human body. She runs on uneven ground and falls severely. Maddie says it is to help her with her muscle memory. They begin the training with Iris running around with a shell on her head, while Alma tries to fire down the shell on her head. Luri's training is to make equipment for Maddie to level up her enchantments. Maddie teaches her how to layer various materials to form a blade, and she gets the process. They test the equipment she made, and they all prove to be extremely powerful. Maddie hands Iris the spear Luri made, and she uses it on a giant boulder, and it obliterates it. Maddie's party trains in the school training ground. He is determined to leave the school if all things go well as he had planned. Edward addresses the students of the first and second academies. It is about the commencement of the operation to cover the royal capital in a barrier. He says Maddie would be busy with the barrier, and would like the wordless casters to be tasked with defending the capital. He encourages them to give it their all as they start the mission. They detect the casting of demons through the communication team, and Maddie tells them that it's likely to be a demonic transportation spell called Magirode. The girls suspect that their plans got leaked to the demons, but Maddie rejects the idea. He asks Luri and Alma to take care of it, and they obey him. On getting to the scene, Alma reminds Luri that Maddie said that it is a sign of demons coming when the magic power starts swelling. Maddie already told Luri to make special metal arrows for Alma against the demons, and she can think of what spells to imbue in them by herself. He tells her how important it is to read the situation on the fly in live combat. Luri makes special arrows for Alma that seem sturdy. A demon makes its way into their dimension, but Alma shoots it down with one of her enchanted arrows. Alma fires her arrow on another demon that enters their dimension, but he evades it. Luri uses her sword to take it down. They feel a magical surge from the capital and decide to head back. Maddie tells them that the magical surge is what he expected, as it is a more advanced version of Magirode that sacrifices a demon to achieve a long-range travel, but since demons have no spirit of self-sacrifice, they probably sacrificed the weakest of their group. Luri asks Maddie for their next step, but he tells her that the demons will likely appear above the second academy. He asks the girls to buy him time since he hasn't completed the barrier. The two of them head out, and Maddie notices the girls are bolder than they were. Iris meets up with Maddie and drops 40 boxes of mithril. Alma and Luri meet Edward at the battleground, and he shows them the magistones for casting circles that Maddie left for Luri, so that she doesn't have to worry about messing up. Massive magic readings are suddenly detected above the academy, and a demon called Belias tears its way into their dimension. He sees the students and the headmaster and launches a large-scale fire attack at them, but they use a defense spell to stop the attack. The Crest of Standards and Crests of Lesser launched their attacks, but it couldn't reach Belias. The demon catches Alma's arrow before it hits him. Alma looks at Lurie, who is making complicated enchantments. She asks Alma to buy her more time. Belias fires another larger-scale attack at them and tells them that there is a large gap in their powers. Despite learning wordless casting, they hold their ground against Belias's attack spells. Lurie fails repeatedly until she gives her all with the last piece of Magistone. She makes an enchanted arrow that Alma fires at Belias. The arrow pierces through the demon's chest from his back, and it grants the students an opening for their attacks. The others attack the demon and defeat it. Another demon comes out looking a little surprised that they took out Belias. Other demons appear in the air and launch a large-scale attack on the students. The students try to defend against the attack but fail. Alma gets up and vows to use her last arrow to buy time for Maddie. Lurie enchants the arrow and Alma prepares to fire it. The demons speak to themselves about how they plan to compete and who can kill the most humans present. Maddie slays one of the demons as soon as he arrives. He starts to attack the demons and he takes all of them out, using the sword Lurie made for him earlier. Edward commends him for taking down the demons. Maddie already finished digging the hole for the barrier, while Iris and the others are handling the rest. When they are done, Maddie adds the Magistone, and the barrier above the capital comes up. Maddie tells them that they aren't done yet. as there are still a ton of monsters to be taken down as a result of the spell that the demons set up before summoning monsters. Edward tells the students that the barrier would only keep the capital safe and not the surrounding towns, so they have to stop all the monsters there. A lot of monsters run towards the capital, but they end up falling into the traps and magic items that Maddie's party members set up. The students of the second academy have grown vastly, and they wouldn't lose to low-level monsters. Iris notices 3 big monsters, and Edward tells the students to retreat, while Maddie and his party members take over from there. The girls take down the monsters efficiently, while Maddie focuses on a more powerful enemy. A monster known as Void Eater appears. It devours monsters around it to grow, and Maddie allows it to absorb the monsters in the area. When the Void Eater is about finished, Maddie gives Lurie a pattern to carve into a Magistone for them to throw at the Void Eater. After the inscription is done, Lurie throws the Magistone into the Void Eater, while Maddie throws some more Magistones alongside her for the Void Eater to eat up. The monster forms, and Maddie tells the girls to let them attack as usual. Alma and Lurie attack with arrows, and Iris aims for the monster's feet while Maddie goes in to attack. He jumps in to stab the eyes, and uses a special magic enchantment to cut off the legs of the monster, but the monster regenerates its legs instantly. Maddie attacks it further with all of his enchantment spells, and uses a spell that will last until he or the enemy runs out of magic. This spell continues to launch attacks at the monster, piercing through different parts of its body until it puts its head down. Maddie cuts its neck and successfully defeats the monster. Maddie decides to take a look at dungeons outside the capital this time, leaving the academy to survey dragon veins. The next day, Edward offers to put Maddie on scholarship at the school, so that the school can benefit from his achievements, while making it easier for the school and nation to intervene if he finds himself in any trouble. Maddie takes the offer. Lurie hears that he is leaving the school, and feels sad. The headmaster offers to give the rest of the party members the scholarship too, if they would like it, and they accept. A boy on a wagon sees Maddie's party members as they journey on the road. He asks them if they are adventurers, and they confirm his guess. The party heads towards the Melkia dungeon. Melkia dungeon is an enormous dungeon that has hundreds of floors. Iris and Maddie are surprised to hear that there are cities built over dungeons nowadays, as there was nothing like that ages ago. It will take them several days to get to Melkia from their current location. If they go around the forest of Chikirisubia, going through the forest will make them reach their destination in about half a day. The forest is a den of monsters, and rumors say that there is a smart monster showing up there lately. The thought of a smart monster makes Maddie curious, and he concludes that they pass through the forest. Lurie and Alma feel unsettled, but Iris tells them that she can always fly them out of there. Maddie reminds her that her wings are still healing, so her flying is restricted. They decide to take a short rest midway in the forest, and Maddie goes to hunt game for them to eat. As soon as he leaves them, he notices countless monsters' magic signatures coming after him. The monsters move in a conspicuously orderly fashion, like they're being commanded. Maddie notices a restrained magic signature among them, and suspects it to be the smart monster. The smart monster attacks Maddie, and Maddie brings it back to them as the result of his hunt. Lurie identifies the monster to be a wisdom monkey, a famously smart monster. He brings out a bull-like monster for them to prepare to quench their hunger. Lurie refines iron from the ground to form a pot and other cooking utensils, while Iris decides to chop down some firewood. Alma offers to gather local plants that they can use to make soup. After having their delicious meal, they decide to continue their journey. Maddie tells them that he thinks the forest monsters are afraid to approach them because of Iris being a dragon, and Maddie for beating the wisdom monkey. The party uses this opportunity to reach Melkia before sundown. Upon arriving at the dungeon city of Melkia, the party notes the place to be less lively than they had expected it to be. They get to the front of a magical lamppost, but notice something strange about how the magic flows. Magic equipment is usually powered with magistones, but this lamppost seems to be directly tapped into the dragon's vein in a slapdash fashion. Someone tells them to get away from the lamppost, as it has killed nothing less than 10 people in the current year just from exploding. Immediately, he tells them that the lamppost explodes again. Lurie meets the store owner and asks him why they're making something like that. He tells her that they do not have a choice, as it was the Lord's orders. The king stopped them from using magistones by telling them that it was their most precious export. Maddie asks him if the new king is the reason behind the scantiness of the town, and the store owner confirms his guess. He tells the party that a strong monster appeared around the 10th floor, and most of the adventurers were sent in on the king's orders. Maddie buys 4 apples for himself and his party members, and they head to the guild first. On his way, he notices the poor quality of equipment in the area. Before they can enter the dungeon, they need to be assigned a permit from the guild. Maddie's party heads to the guild. The guild attendant advises them against getting a permit. She tells them that the permits aren't issued by the guild, but by the king himself, and they'll be subjected to whatever the king says as long as they stay in Melkia. Missions from dungeon exploration to monster hunting come once a month and result in a lot of casualties. Maddie applies for 4 permits, and immediately, a lady comes in screaming that they have a huge number of injuries as a result of the monster attack, and they find it hard to keep up. She asks if there is anyone who knows healing spells, and Maddie raises his hand. They're taken to a place that contains a large number of sick people. He figures out that the city cannot even afford a stopgap in a dungeon city that is full of adventurers. He asks why they have so few healers, and he is told that they used to have many staff, but they were all driven out by the king, as he considered them a waste of money. Maddie tries healing a man, but he is stopped by an authoritative figure. The man questions Maddie about what he is doing, and Maddie continues his healing process. He heals the man in front of him, and orders his party members and the people around him to do as they are told. Starting with the worst among them, he tells the rest of them to cast healing spells in descending order of urgency. Maddie uses a healing type that is best with the crest of failure to close the blood vessels to staunch the bleeding, heal the damaged organs, and then close the wounds. He tells the others that if they work together, they can save all of the injured, and they do just that, healing all of the injured. Maddie asks about the previous king, as he had heard that the previous king knew what he was doing, but he was replaced with a completely incompetent king. He is told that the previous king passed away abruptly in his sleep without any explanation. The alteration of demons in the current time is what caused cities to be built over dungeons, and due to this, Maddie suspects that the previous king was killed by demons, and the current king might as well be a demon himself. At night, Maddie writes a letter to the headmaster for him to forward to the king. He writes a decoy letter first, talking about homework, and hides the main letter under a false bottom in the delivery box to protect the letter against inspection. Alma asks him if it wouldn't be faster for him to deliver the letter personally, and he tells her that it would, but he wants to see what will happen in the dungeon first. He tells them to have a nice rest, while they check out the dungeon the next day. Maddie and Lurie struggle to sleep since it's their first night out together. Iris and Alma sleep soundly while the two of them count monsters as a method of falling asleep till daybreak. The next morning, Maddie tells Iris that she almost used her dragon's breath in her sleep earlier, and could have blown the inn away. They get to the dungeon gate, and it's just iron, one that a monster could break through easily. Iris opens the door and they all go in. Iris defeats a powerful monster and they take its head back to the guild. The attendant was shocked to see the head of the powerful monster from the previous day lying at her front. She asks how they did it, and Maddie tells her that they did it the normal way, but he didn't get involved this time. She tells him that she can buy it, but they wouldn't get paid immediately as the king has to first confirm it. The woman writes her report, and Maddie uses projection magic to see what she is writing. He sees that she writes 3 girls to be beasts and him to be a healer. She concludes that he didn't participate in the battle due to being a healer. Maddie asks if he can get gold for the rest of the monsters, and it surprises the attendant that there are more. The party uses part of the reward to treat themselves to dinner. On their way home after dinner, Maddie notices some men coming after them. He knows that the king has been spurred into action and is determined to unmask the men. Maddie takes a detour to the inn. He uses a telepathy spell to communicate with the girls. He calms them down and reveals to them that they are being tailed by the king's flunkies. Maddie tells them to use a concealment spell and monitor the people tailing them to know their reactions. He says, if they are hostile, the girls should handle them. They appear in front of the stalkers and act as if they are lost. The stalker describes the way to their inn and realizes they have messed up. The stalkers try to hold Maddie captive and play along with them. Alma asks what the men want to do with them. The leader tells her all he knows about them and how Maddie is the party's healer. He laughs and tells them that they will be serving their lord henceforth. Maddie tells Iris not to use any weapons and just knock them all out, and Iris does as she's told. Maddie attaches a demon-detecting tracking spell on all of them while they're knocked out, as he suspects that they are in contact with demons. The next morning, at the inn, Maddie receives the king's letter and asks his crew to follow him outside. They meet up with Ike at a spot where the king won't catch on. Ike brings the response to Maddie's letter regarding the king of Melkia's exploitation of the dungeon city. He tells him that on the king's orders, Lord Dokio Melkia should be taken into custody under the supervision of royal proxy Ike. Maddie and the girls wish to arrest Dokio Melkia. He tells Elk that he already cast a tracking spell on Dokio's underlings, and he knows where he is. Dokiel is at an estate on the edge of town that is closely guarded. Elk asks if he should call for the knight's assistance, but Maddie discourages him. He believes his party can handle the situation on its own. They get to the front of the estate and meet the gate closed in the middle of the day, which seems unusual. Maddie uses magic to sense the signatures within the building and believes that the king is concentrating his defenses. Elk wonders if they may have heard of their plans, and Maddie confirms his guess. Elk suggests they turn back, but Maddie tells him that they'll be going forward with their plans. They enter the house and get attacked by the king's minions, but Lori parries them all. Maddie asks her to leave the rest to him as he electrocutes all the guards in the building. King Dokyo Melkia's room is supposed to be on the second floor, but through Maddie's detection, he says that no one is in the building but are in the basement. Maddie finds the entrance to the secret basement where frames are hung up. He opens up the stairs that lead to the basement. King Dokyo Melkia notices that everywhere has gone quiet, and he asks his attendant if the intruders have been crushed. He is told that they would have heard about it if the intruders had been crushed. Dokyo doesn't believe that his men could have been taken out quickly, but asks that they take the secret passage to the surface, as a form of being cautious. Maddie walks in and interrupts the king. Dokyo is surprised to see a kid in the basement, so he asks his attendant. Maddie introduces himself and calls in his party members. Dokyo uses this opportunity to ambush Maddie with his men, but he knocks them all out. Royal proxy. Elk arrests Dokyo Melkia, and Dokyo tells them that they will pay if terrible things happen to him. Maddie knocks him out while Elk takes him back to the capital for interrogation. Maddie tells Elk that he has other things to do, like finding out how they anticipated their raid. He sees a letter on Dokyo's table that reveals the decision to have him arrested, and they wonder where it came from. Maddie notices faint traces on the letter and traces it to be from a demon. He believes that the demons are after the dragon vein in the dungeon since the one there is far bigger than the one in the capital. Elk goes to report it to the capital at once, but a loud earthquake interrupts them. Maddie tells them that the demons have started tampering with the dragon vein. They know that the demons have spawned a monster horde that is heading their way based on the magic signature. Maddie tells them that they will have to get the demons far away from the dragon vein as soon as possible, because all of Melkia will be in danger if the demons aren't stopped. They have 2 hours to head into the dungeon and finish things since it's the time required for the demons to reach Melkia. In the dungeon, everywhere looks empty, like a trap has been set. Maddie gives Iris a spot for her to dig through that would lead them to the dragon vein. Luri notices a demonic air around the dragon vein, and Maddie tells her it is something the demons rigged up into the dragon vein a long time ago and are now trying to put in the finishing touches. Luri asks if they can stop whatever it is they're doing, and Maddie tells them to split into 2 teams while he heads to the floor where the demons are hiding and strikes them. They will stop whatever the demons are trying to get the dragon vein to do and restore it to normal. He tells Luri to lead the team while he has already rigged up the dragon vein with a communication circle with limited range. The party will be able to communicate from anywhere in the dungeon. Maddie communicates with Luri, who is trying to restore the dragon vein to normal. He asks her to be careful since a single wrong move can blow up the town. Maddie is taking down the demons, and with 1 hour left until the demon horde arrives, Maddie meets with the demon manipulating the dragon vein. He suspects the demon to be using a communication spell also, so he uses Magic Align to tap into it. He hears the other party telling the demon that Maddie isn't the one disrupting his spell. The other party suspects it to be his colleague, Luri, to be the disruptor. The demon is given the order to destroy Matthias and finish off Luri. The boss tells the demon to fight cautiously and not underestimate Maddie. They attack each other, and the demon repels Maddie's first attack using a barrier that blows up on impact. The demon is given an order to finish Maddie before he destroys the barrier, as a prolonged battle would put him at a disadvantage. Maddie tells Luri to prepare casting circles 14 and 17 while he and the demon attack each other. The demons have devised a plan that is best suited to fight the crest of failure by attacking from a long range. After dodging all of the demons' attacks, the demons move to the second stage, which uses traps. Maddie acts as if he is being lured into the trap. He asks Luri to activate the 14th casting circle first, which nullifies the traps, and then activate the 17th one, which uses the dragon vein to disrupt communications in the area. The demons have their communications cut, and Maddie continues to fire attacks at the demon's barrier. He charges in to use his sword to break through the barrier. The demons have their communications restored, and Maddie suspects the demon giving the orders to be an old demon, as it knows about his past life. The demon is ordered to use Disfortune, and Maddie dodges all of his attacks and defeats him in the process. The monsters heading for Melkia begin to disappear because Luri has restored the dragon vein. The next thing they have to do is to find the demon giving the orders. The demon taps their communication spell and tells Maddie that he won't be able to trace him back. Maddie notices the magic coming from several kilometers away in a town called Alenia. He suspects it to be a decoy. Iris asks Maddie if they are searching for the demon's leader's hideout, and he confirms her question. They ask him how they'll do it, and he tells them that the enemy thought he could cut off their ability to find him by cutting off the relay in Alenia. The transmission spell still carried a trace of the caster's magic signature. Maddie recorded the signature in a magistone and would need a device from thousands of years to be able to trace the enemy through the magistone and pinpoint his location. Maddie is close to revealing to them that he's Gaius, but Iris coughs and he gets back on track. The device is located at the Rodinia Alliance, and with the king's help, they can cross the border smoothly. For now, they head back to the capital. Iris complains as the party leaves her while she eats. The party reaches the capital and heads to the second academy. On getting there, they do not see their school building and wonder why it's gone. The headmaster, Edward, meets with them and informs them that they are rebuilding the school to make the walls thicker and also erecting a barrier to withstand demon attack. He says that classes are being held at the first academy, while the students help with the construction. In Edward's office, Maddie tells him that there is another demon pulling the strings in the dungeon city, and they'll need to cross the border to find him. Edward asks which border, and Maddie replies that it's the border with the Rodinia Alliance. Edward says he'll make a recommendation and seek their guild's cooperation, as he believes the king would make it a top priority now that demons are involved. He tells them that not all alliances are friendly. Maddie offers to help with the construction of the school while they wait for their leave to travel. The headmaster appreciates him, but they all worry as soon as Iris suggests help. Outside the office, Maddie and Lurie make suggestions that'll make the building materials more efficient. Iris tries helping out, but she trips, and the iron pipe she holds destroys part of the building in the process. The king grants them permission, and Edward hands them their border crossing permit. He gives them the king's voucher for the Rodinia Alliance, and they head out. This is the first time Luria and Alma have left the Ice Kingdom, and they wonder what the Rodinia Alliance is. The major problem they will face on their way is that entry into the region containing the device they need is heavily restricted. The magical signature there is so strong that they're afraid a magical calamity will occur. Maddie tells the girls what the headmaster told them. He says the only way is to increase their adventurer rank, and they'll need to be at least A rank to enter a restricted region. To increase their rank, they have to head to the Rodinia Adventurers Guild and complete their ranking test. If passing the test takes too long, they can try other ways, like making a dark dragon appear above the restricted region as a distraction for them to reach their destination. On getting to the Rodinia Alliance, Maddie tells them that they should go to the guild first. They meet a man who recognizes them as soon as they get there. The man tells them that the King of Ice Kingdom asked their guild for help, urging international cooperation now that the demons are growing more active. Maddie asks to take the Ascension test so he can get to A rank as soon as possible. Normally, he is supposed to start from the G rank and take the test upwards, but he is allowed to skip to the A rank test. The test comprises a mock battle with a pre-arranged proctor, who happens to be Galuas. Maddie notices Galuas has a high magical signature, high enough for him to be mistaken as a demon. Galuas is a rank S adventurer who only thinks about fighting. The original proctor ran off, so Galuas offered to stand in. Although no one has ever passed a test run by Galuas, Maddie decides to take the test. Before the test starts, Galuas tells the girls that they have passed and they should go home, while he points to Maddie to fight him one-on-one. Galuas already heard of Maddie as the famous hero of the East Kingdom. Galuas is a combat prodigy who has never lost a one-on-one battle. The evaluation exam starts, and Maddie asks for the rules. Galuas tells him that the match is over when one of them gets knocked out or gives up. He informs Maddie that he doesn't use magic, and all he uses is a sword. When Galuas draws his sword, Maddie notices a physique enhancement spell. They attack each other, and Galuas uses physique spells alongside some enhancement spells, but has no idea about it. They go toe-to-toe with each other. Galuas asks Maddie not to hold back, and when he does as he is told, Galuas adapts to Maddie. He replicates Maddie's moves after fighting with him just once. Maddie tells him the flaw in his attack and goes out on him with a larger casting strength. Galuas tries to parry the attack, but he is sent crashing into a wall. Maddie follows up and points his sword at him, but Galuas gives up. This is the first time Galuas lost a fight, so he asks Maddie how he can get as strong as him, and Maddie gives him a book he wrote that will help his knowledge of spellcasting. Galuas tries reading the book but doesn't understand it. Maddie decides not to write the test for S rank, even though he would be the strongest in the land. He tells Galuas that they just need the A rank to enter the restricted territory, which is the Atelis Plains in the Folkia region. Galuas tells them that he heard the atmosphere in the region has changed a lot lately, and checkpoints have also grown stricter too, all of a sudden, with parties getting missing on their way there. On their way to the Atelis Plains, they arrive at a checkpoint where they are given passes that would be valid for the main road after checking their documents. The girls believe the process was easy, but Maddie shows them the magical code inscribed in the passes. He tells them that the coding technology is the same as that of the demons, meaning that all of Folkia might be under demons' control. Looking ahead, they see visitors who have come to finish them off before they get to the city. Maddie decides that they put them all to sleep instead of taking them all out to prevent a commotion. He tells Lurie and Alma to get around behind them and use a magic item to put them to sleep, while he and Iris draw out their attention. Maddie uses a spell to create illusions. When they start to get attacked, Maddie and Iris block all of the arrows fired at them. The arrow bounces off Iris's body and she gets mad to attack the enemies, but Maddie stops her. He deflects the arrows and tells her not to cause a commotion. Lurie and Alma activate the magical item behind the enemies, and it makes them fall asleep. Lurie and Alma fall asleep due to the effects of the magical item. Maddie nullifies the effect on them and wakes them. Lurie feels embarrassed and apologizes to Maddie for falling asleep. Alma has ink drawn over her face by Iris. She gets mad at her while Iris denies doing the deed. Maddie tells them to check the effect range of the magical item in the future before using it. When they arrive at Fokia, the entire place looks creepy. It has a feel of a demonic magical structure in the city, with over 30 faint signatures scattered all over. Maddie tells Lurie that the reason they feel small is probably because they're concealing them. Fokia is full of demons, and even if it's true that typical demons don't work in groups, demi-demons are different. Demi-demons are a rare offshoot of the demon race. They can't use any spells, but they work in groups and fight as a team. Maddie tells the girls that if the demi-demons are the ones in control of the city, then it's the most troublesome situation he can imagine. They decide to go in through the hidden passage for demons that Maddie can find out. The hidden passage leads them to the city center and is just like the city's sewer system. While they're walking, Maddie's detection spell picks up a demon just ahead of them. They wonder what they would do, and Maddie tells them that they will just pass right by the demon. He uses a stupefaction spell to temporarily dull the senses of the demon while they walk right past it. At the city center, the townspeople look like they are in some kind of trance. Maddie notices some strange magical signatures also, so he picks up a random person on the street and checks the spell that was cast on him. He tells the girls that it's called thought paralysis and is a type of stupefaction spell. At one point, all of the townspeople line up on their way into a factory and are being cast a thought paralysis spell by a demon. Maddie tells them that they would all have to go inside to check out what it is, so he casts a defense spell ahead that will nullify the thought paralysis spell. They act like they're under the spell and they are allowed to go inside. Inside, the factory looks like they're refining ore with far more advanced equipment on a larger scale of production. Maddie identifies the rock they're collecting to be Rankine magical ore, which can be used in explosives when they're refined. A ton of them can blow up an entire kingdom, but would take decades to gather that amount. Seeing a company like this with such a scale of production, Maddie wonders if there's a powerful demon with extensive knowledge of magical technology behind the whole process. Lurie asks him what they should do now, and Maddie tells them that the factory is too dangerous to be left standing. The thought paralysis would harm the human brain with time, so this leaves them with no other choice than to take down the demons. The 32 demi-demons are scattered around the city center, and there's a low probability of them getting scattered. Maddie plans to use the demons' teamwork against them. At night, the demons notice an unknown magical signature in Area 51. They immediately turn to their demon form. Noticing that it's a massive signature, they are ordered to locate and dispatch the source of the signature at once and surround Area 51, but they didn't see any sign of the enemy. They gather around the area and meet Iris. While the demons are all focused on Iris, Maddie starts cutting them down from behind. The leader of the demon watches them from afar, but doesn't understand what is going on there. Maddie plans to mask Iris's tremendous magical signature when they first arrive in the city and unmask it all at once. The demi-demons gather around her while he waits on standby. Lurie and Alma's jobs are to scatter any demon clustering. Lurie, Alma, and Maddie will have to remain in hiding and take out the demons one at a time. While the demons keep chasing after Iris, Maddie notifies Lurie and Alma of their arrival and throws Magiston's Infused with a mere explosion spell at the demons. It distracts them and Maddie takes them out from behind. Demidemons are always in contact via shared consciousness, and this allows misinformation to disseminate quickly among them as well. The demons think the town has been rigged with all forms of traps, so they are ordered to stay put and use detection spells to locate the traps. Maddie tells Lurie and Alma to use the conceal magic to prevent them from being detected. When the demons don't detect any traps or intruders, they continue to move around, and Maddie and his party continue to take them out to different areas of the city. The leader of the demons notices something, so he checks the body of one of the dead demons and picks up 2 magical signatures and also figures out that he wasn't killed by an explosion but by a sword. He concludes that someone is hiding out there and attacking them. He announces this to the demons, and Maddie tells the girls that they will have to take on the rest of the demons head on. The leader of the demons is ready to purge the city of its intruders, even if it means that they lose half of the city. As one of the demons volunteers to get the magic crystals from the factory, he gets taken out by Gilluas. Maddie notices Gilluas' arrival through his magical signature, and Gilluas takes down some of the demons, leaving the leader. The leader believes that Gilluas has been behind the killings the entire time, so he charges at Gilluas with his swords. Maddie takes out 2 of the demons surrounding Gilluas, and Iris takes out the remaining remaining 4, leaving the boss. Gilwas and the boss demon continue to attack each other, and Gilwas uses a magic spell to destroy the monster. Lurie casts a healing spell on Gilwas, and the demon stands up again with red eyes and tries to attack them, but Maddie blocks the attack. The demon's magical signature becomes more powerful than before, and he receives a message from the demon he spoke to earlier, telling him that he will soon destroy the seal and revive it completely. The demon turns to dust, and Maddie tells the girls that someone was using powerful magic to animate the corpse, but the body couldn't take it. The only one capable of such a feat is the big boss controlling the demon in the Melkia dungeon. The commotion brings the crowd out to the town center, and the defeat of the demi-demons lifts the thought paralysis. Jaluas goes in to address the humans, introducing himself and taking full control of Folkia under the Emergency Authorization Act. This act allows a high-ranked adventurer to temporarily take control in the absence of the town leader. He meets the foreman after looking for anyone in control, and appoints him as the provisional lord of Folkia. Maddie and his party members are handed a guild permit that allows them to enter Folkia's restricted area by Gilwas. He tells them that he would have to go back to his training, as he cannot go around almost dying every time he slays one measly demon. Maddie and the girls make their way to the device they were originally after. The building looks like it was from an ancient magic super civilization, and Alma wonders what technologies they used to make it. The ruin is one that Maddie created in his past life, and when they get to the top, Maddie tells Iris that the device is inside. They didn't see any entry, so Iris asked if she could break in as her powers were back. Maddie tells her that she can't break through it as he made it out of sturdy materials. Lurie confirms what he just said about him making it, and he tries to cover it up by telling her that Iris might put a dent in it if she attacks it with everything she has. He tells them that the correct way to do it is to infuse the pyramid with magical power. They obey him, and it automatically opens up. They all use an enhanced physique spell before jumping down, as there is no staircase. While Maddie prepares the device for activation, he tells them to go around in search of anything they can use, as there might be old weapons or treasure scattered around. Lurie finds a sword that Maddie created while on an all-nighter high. The sword was just designed to look cool and nothing else. Alma finds a spear that is quite heavy for her to carry, and Maddie tells her that Iris has enough magical power to wield it, but it could be dangerous due to its control difficulty. Iris finds preserved foods from the ancients, and when she opens them, the smell knocks her out. The device is completely activated, and Maddie puts a part from the refinery in Folkia to analyze so they can track down the person who gave the refining tech to the demons. It reveals data from the magical analysis, and Maddie notices a demonic signature there. Just as he had suspected, the signature happened to be the same as the demon giving the orders to the demon in the dungeon city. Maddie suspects the demon to be working on a plan to defeat all of humanity. He uses the magical signature he acquired from the dungeon to ascertain the demon's location. Everything turns red when Maddie uses the machine, and he finds out that the seal is on the verge of being lifted. The girls ask Maddie if he's strong enough to put the seal back, and he informs them of Zardias. He tells them that basic skills can't work on Zardias, and they can't defeat him at their current state. Maddie tells the girls that they might have a chance of beating him if they use an immortality spell and train for 100 years. Iris says they might stand a chance if they had stronger weapons, and Maddie picks up the sword to analyze it. He looks for more items with magical signatures matching the ones in the ruins so that they can use powerful magic items from elsewhere in the world against him. All of the weapons Maddie made in his previous life have ended up getting scattered all over the world, so he searches for the magic sword and finds it in the capital kingdom of Ys. Maddie and his party fly to Ys, and Maddie gives Alma and Lurie a Magistone each that he has designed to react to the magic sword in question. Zardias appears to have completely broken the seal, and he immediately starts to come after them. Maddie tells the girls to find the magic sword quickly while he holds off Zardias. Students of the academy also notice a strange magical signature and suspect that Maddie is coming. They look into the air and see Lurie and Alma falling from the sky while they're tracing the sword to the castle's treasury. After landing, they take the shortest route to the castle. Maddie prepares his first attack for Zardias and waits for his arrival. Zardias is currently traveling through a space available to demons, similar to the transportation spell used by the demons to attack the capital. Maddie decides to seal the space before Zardias' arrival and buy himself some time. As Zardias opens the space, Maddie tries to seal the space, but he fails, so he is left with no choice but to fight Zardias. Maddie tells Iris to fire one dragon's breath and pull back, as her presence alone should be enough to keep Zardias in check. Zardias takes the dragon's breath attacks heads on and doesn't suffer a single scratch. He draws out his sword and launches his first attack at Iris. Iris evades the attack with the help of Maddie's multi-layered defense. He attacks Maddie immediately. Lurie and Alma get to the treasury. As they're about to burst through the guards holding them back, the king meets them, and they explain explain the situation to him. He grants them access immediately. Zardias is so fast that Maddie cannot see through all of his attacks, and with Maddie's chance of victory becoming exceptionally low, he decides to give up his life to win the battle. Lurie and Alma continue their search for the sword, and Lurie finds it inside a blue box. She senses an incredible magic power within it. As soon as she opens the box, she picks it up, and they hurry towards Maddie. Zardias tells Maddie that he's foolish for thinking he could buy time against him with such meager power. He fires a long-range attack over the entire capital, forcing Maddie to spawn up a defensive spell to protect the capital. Zardias finds out that Maddie is making preparations inside the barrier to resist him. He knows that his subordinates cannot enter the capital as long as the barrier is there. He asks Maddie what he would do concerning the monsters who were already inside when the barrier was erected. Astral and Destral spawned again in front of the girls. With ease this time, they take them down, but Astral appears in front of them. Astral asks them to surrender their weapons. He threatens to kill 2 of their classmates that he has with him as hostages if they don't surrender their weapons. Maddie senses the demonic signatures in the barrier, and Zardias tells him that he resurrected the bodies of the demons they stored in the capital. He says that he magically ordered them to slay his companions. Zardias fires another attack at the barrier again, and it overpowers the defensive spell. Maddie chases after the attack and deflects it somewhere else. Zardias tells him that the reason he can't exercise his full powers is because he keeps covering for the weaklings. He tells Maddie to cast everything aside and show him what humanity's strongest has to offer. The boys in hostage tell the girls not to worry about them and take down Astral. Astral asks the girls if they are okay with seeing the boys die, and the girls surrender the weapon. Maddie hopes that Alma and Lurie have found the weapon, because there will be nothing to stop the destruction of humanity if the magic sword doesn't reach him in time. Zardias asks Maddie what else he wants to do since he no longer has any hope of winning. Maddie refuses to give up on the fight, as he can use his remaining life and magical power to activate the reincarnation spell into the next era, where Zardias' power will have weakened a little. He improves his skills in magical combat and plots a comeback. He doesn't plan on letting the girls down, not after they put their trust in him. Maddie starts his counterattack, and Zardias calls him a fool. As Astral tries to pick up the weapons, the headmaster and students stop him with their attack from above. Lurie frees the boys who were held as hostages, while Alma fires her arrow at Astral. The students also initiate the demon counterattack tactics they trained for, and secure Astral while Lurie and Alma continue their mission. Maddie channels his life energy into his magical power to increase his combat potential. He uses it as a last resort to hold out until Lurie and Alma arrive. Immediately Lurie throws the sword to Maddie. Zardias stabs Maddie through his back, piercing the blade into Maddie's body. All hope seems lost as Maddie drops to the ground. Lurie calls out his name with tears rolling down her cheeks. The stone on his sword shines, and he begins to elevate. Zardias is shocked to see Maddie still alive, as he had killed him by piercing through his heart. Maddie tells him that was what activated the sword's ability. They attack each other again, but this time, Maddie wields the sword that represents the pinnacle of his craft from his past life. Its condition for activation is the loss of the wielder's life, which in turn revives the wielder with a tremendous infusion of magic. Maddie becomes faster than he was earlier on and can barely control his current magic. He tells Zardias that his body is irrelevant this time, as he can simply animate it with magic when he's done. Zardias is shocked as he believes no human should be capable of using such skill. He asks Maddie who exactly he is, and Maddie tells him that he's the strongest sage with the weakest crest. Maddie goes on to end Zardias in one final slash. Before Zardias vanishes, he tells Maddie that he's not the only chaos demon in the world, and that the next demon will surely destroy him. When it is all over, Lurie runs to hug Maddie, telling him that she is scared to see him die. The headmaster and the others tell the party that the other students have taken care of the demon in the barrier, and no casualties have been recorded. Maddie tells them they would have to repair the damage they did. He expels the magic power of the sword, as it is a one-use magic sword. The next day, Maddie and his party members meet with the king, and Lurie thanks him for giving them access to the treasury the other day. The king tells them that there's no need for any thanks, as the kingdom was in peril, and he was just doing his duty to save it. For the rewards for their deeds, the king grants them titles and lands. Since Matthias has no desire for a title, as he'd like to live his life as an adventurer, the king grants him the very sword that Lurie took, and also asks him to take anything he likes from the treasury. At the treasury, Maddie finds an adamantite alloy arrow that he created in his past life, which he also made a matching bow for at the time. He asks for the bow, and is told that it was declared useless because it was badly rusted. The guard tells him that it was sold to the Isis Company. The Isis Company is the biggest shop in the area and is the major buyer of scrap metal from the palace. They go in and ask for the bow, only to find out that it had been turned into a block of metal, mixed with various other metals because they couldn't identify it. Maddie thinks about separating them so he could end up with other rare metals. He decides to buy all of their blocks and have them sent to his inn. On their way out, Edward meets with them and tells them that there's an emergency. They meet with Guile, captain of the Knight's Order. Although Matty has been briefed by the headmaster on his way, Guile tells him that he received a report of an attack 2 days ago near the border with their neighbor, the Sihil Empire. The attack was carried out by 300 of the puppets lying in front of him. Matty analyzes it and notices that the magic circle is intricate and the wood itself is no ordinary wood. He checks and finds out that the puppet is powered by human life energy, meaning it's stealing small amounts of life energy from many humans at once. The only person who could do this is a demon. Guile asks Matty for his aid once again for the sake of humanity, and Matty accepts.